Welcome to CarTorque with Matty J, live on 98.9 Northwest FM. Tonight we're talking all things Tesla Semi.
Oh.
So that's their new truck that they've just announced. And what are the police going to use now that Ford and Holden are gone? Now, I know we give the coppers a bit of a...
Toyota?
Well, they've just announced that the new V6 Camry is a possible option. So...
Camry,
mate. Bring back the Camry. Yeah, people ask me, like, why do you like the Camry for? And I'm like, well, because it does everything okay. It doesn't break down.
Yeah, it's reliable.
It's reliable. That is the voice of James from Man vs. Movies. What's happening?
Nothing much.
Just ranting on...
Oh, man, my show... Like, I was only supposed to talk about Force Awakens. We did a Star Wars show, for those who didn't listen.
Because Star Wars...
Last Jedi's coming out tomorrow. And so I did a Star Wars special for my show, Man vs. Movies, and I was only supposed to talk about Force Awakens for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And I'm talking about it for 45 minutes and just ranting and raving. I hate that movie so much.
And we welcome to the studio old friend of the show, Mr. WRX himself. Alan, what's going on?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me. Apologies for being late.
No worries, mate.
There's a good reason behind it.
What is the reason? Don't tell me something happened to the Rex.
Other than getting low on fuel, nothing, and we've topped that up because fuel prices are going up today.
Really?
Yes.
What time?
Don't
tell me they've already gone up.
They've already gone up at most stations. One of the retail varieties, which have the green pumps.
Yes.
The retail giant.
Yes.
Some of them are still cheaper. The red ones, however, have pretty much gone up. So have your BPs and your 7-Elevens. So if you've got the app Motormouth, which I think is a very useful app for anyone in Australia, definitely check it out. You can see fuel pumps around you which have your fuel of choice and roughly what price you're looking at. So
what's it up to now?
I believe regular 91 is up to $1.40.
No way, dude! I filled up.
So 98 is at $1.58, close to $1.60.
Jeez,
I don't want to pay that. I paid $1.40.
What a dude! I picked up my laser today, but I was driving my mum's car because I had to get the water pump, and I'll get to that a bit later. That fiasco, but I'm like, I'll top up her cars just so she knows she's got a full tank of fuel. And it was like $1.20 for 91. So I was like, oh well, if that's 98 came to $1.40, so I was like, yeah, I'll check a 98 for her. And they were telling me this, and my laser got like no fuel, so I was going to fill up after the show. I'm pretty devastated right now.
There's still a possibility because there are a few straggler pumps, and I actually know of one. I'm going to possibly give them the plug at this point. I'm not sure what company they are, but they're opposite the CSL on Camp Road. And they regularly have fuel at 129, which isn't necessarily cheap. It's just when everything else has gone to 140, the 129 is still 129.
That's the United, right? They got
I believe it is United, yeah. But I wasn't 100% sure. But yes, they usually have their price set the same no matter what's going on. So if somebody does need cheaper fuel and you're in the area, possibly try Camp Road. Otherwise, just look at the Motormouth app and see what you can do.
Well, Alan, we were talking before the show on the chat about the latest Tesla Semi.
Yes. As I was saying before, tonight's topics are pretty much that. What are the coppers going to drive now that the Commodore and Falcon are pretty much all...
Dacia Sandero.
James May, if you're listening, come to Australia, convince the police chiefs and all their teams that they need a Dacia Sandero. But yeah, the Tesla Semi, dude. I read up about this. Have you heard about it?
I saw the picture.
It's really cool.
Massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Is it self-driving? Yeah.
I believe it can. From what I've read.
Currently, I believe they're marketing it both ways.
Yeah.
For drivers and obviously self-driving.
It's like a one-seater too, like in the middle.
Yeah, and just the figures on it seem amazing. I think without the trailer hitched, you can get from 0 to 100 in about 6 seconds.
That's nuts.
Which in a truck is pretty damn good. With the trailer hitched and fully loaded.
40 tons?
Yeah, fully loaded, I believe it's 20 seconds?
20 seconds.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone that actually drives a truck professionally would do that. Just because...
Everything will go... it's fallen to the back of the...
Things could definitely move around. And, as they say, fall off the back of the truck. But once again, amazing.
Not in Broadmeadows terms, off the back of the truck.
But just amazing figures for a truck because considering I spend a lot of my summers, sitting passenger on a truck, it can get very frustrating just rolling through the gears, barely getting to 100, and just having to then, slow down again, or just to change lanes or whatever. Just to be able to have a truck that can not necessarily beat the cars, but keep up with the cars, just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of just, I guess, driver annoyance and just driver peace of mind, especially considering it'll be an automatic. Or not an automatic, but it won't have the gears necessarily. You just press the accelerator and the brake. You don't have to roll through 14 gears.
But the thing is, the good thing about normal trucks is that they've got distance. This is only rated at 600
miles, so 300 kilometers.
300 to 500 miles, it says.
With what?
Depending on, I'm guessing depending on if it's got a tow in that, like if it's got load.
Yeah, Musk's quote was, fully loaded it'll do 1,000 on highway driving, which I'm willing to believe because you're not slowing down and speeding up again, you're not losing the energy. Which if you can get 1,000 k's, that's a trip from here to Sydney, for example.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And if you're driving long distance, you would be legally obliged to take a break at that point anyway.
Yeah, true. So I guess in that aspect that kind of works out.
And that was really the biggest thing I felt, at least in terms of larger vehicles, was once again the range. Smaller vehicles, if you're a passenger just driving yourself to work or something, you can deal with, like just even a limitation of 150 Ks. You can deal with that because your work is possibly 20 Ks, 30 Ks away, and you're coming back. You can charge your car at work, you can charge your car at home, It's nice and easy, whereas with a larger vehicle, you can't deal with that kind of range. It's just not enough. So being able to do 1,000 kilometers freeway driving,
it's not bad.
I think it's definitely a game changer.
Have they announced a date for it?
Not that I recall, but I'd be very interested in seeing like what they do with it, and particularly the price.
Yes.
What kind of price point they're looking at?
This is going to be very expensive, I'm guessing, because seeing as normal trucks like themselves are like 200 grand.
Yeah, 200 grand, and if they could get something comparable to that, then I reckon they could very quickly push into the market.
It says 200 grand USD, but
we'll see. I guess that'll probably transfer to 400 grand here.
Yeah.
Look, we got to get to our first break of the night. We'll continue this chat right after this, and we'll talk to James about the movie for tomorrow, because the last one just sucked.
Cram Last Jedi into your car show.
It was a terrible film.
The Cast Jedi. Karst Jedi, not cast.
We'll be right back after this. You're back on CarTorque with Matty J. That was Kiela with LMK, or Let Me Know. Now, before we get back into about the Tesla, James, the movie tomorrow. It's Star Wars, and I'm a Star Wars fan. You're a Star Wars fan. I think everyone is kind of a Star Wars fan in some way or another. But the last movie was absolutely. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. This one, however, I'm kind of G'd up. I'm always G'd up around Star Wars time, but I hope it's good.
You don't want to get me started about Force Awakens, because we'll be here all night and I'll hijack your whole show. But as I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and Force Awakens is not a good movie in any sense of the word. It's a terrible film, no character development, no world building. It's purely based in nostalgia. If you haven't heard my show, Man vs. Movies, you can go to Shout Engine or iTunes and listen to his rant. Listen to the rants. I have Star Wars episodes just dedicated to Star Wars. But yeah, the next movie, Last Jedi, which is the sequel to Force Awakens, I'm not expecting to like it. I hope it's good. I never go to a movie expecting it to hoping it to be bad. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna like it. Rian Johnson, who's directing it, I'm a big fan of. So I think he'll do a good job with the characters and stuff. But just the fact that it's based off of Force Awakens,
it's already
he's already starting with broken legs.
Well, let's hope it's somewhat better than the last one, because I don't think you could get any worse than that. I think you could probably watch a picture watch a video of a person shooting himself in the foot, and it'd be a better film. It had more character development.
Honestly, if it has the name Star Wars on it, people are gonna love it. So if it was a guy shooting himself in the foot, people are gonna pay money to see that if it says Star Wars on it.
Oh, dude. Well, anyway, we'll talk about this next week. In the meantime, the Tesla Semi, I'm pretty excited about that. I reckon that is a really good option. That is probably the future for our trucks.
Oh yeah,
definitely, yeah. And that's another point I wanted to bring up. Just some statistics, because everyone loves statistics. But these are primarily US based, and out of the 200 and something million cars or vehicles registered in the US, only about 3%
electric
are heavy vehicles, like larger trucks and everything else. Yet they account for approximately a quarter of the pollution emissions by transport.
Does that classify, like, are they classifying just like proper like prime movers and semi-truck, or are they classifying like F trucks and all that stuff?
The classification was 6 or more tires and a minimum of 2 axles.
Okay.
So possibly the F trucks some of them definitely could count.
Like 650s and
yeah. But generally, so larger transport accounts for about a quarter of the pollution that's caused by transport, which is already a third of total pollution, and they're only about 3% of the total vehicles.
Mm.
So when you're considering that they're causing so much impact on the environment,
that's huge, actually.
Yeah, and to be able to possibly reduce that to zero, it all once again boils down to where the electricity is coming from. If it's coming from coal, you're not really helping much. But with, I guess, electric-powered vehicles, there's always a very large opportunity to actually source your energy from a much more renewable source. You can use wind, solar, a myriad of different energy sources, whereas if you're running a combustion engine, you're kind of limited. You've got some biodiesels and stuff, but you're very limited.
Yeah, you're limited on that. And especially with trucks, you need torque. And I think electric motors kind of proved that you get torque straight away. King of torque. Yeah, like you're just not going to kind of beat them unless you've got like a bazillion turbochargers.
It also help with like driver fatigue and stuff.
It will.
If the cockpits are more comfortable and the driving smoother.
You know, that reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons when Homer falls asleep driving the truck.
Oh yeah, the auto.
They predicted the future.
But that's not the first one. They predicted Trump. The Simpsons predicted a lot of things. So, jeez.
But yeah, I mean, at a certain point, it'll be all self-driving anyway. So we'll get like those trucks from Logan where they're just the trailer, and they just drive by themselves. But yeah, I mean, for now,
it's already been done. I believe it was a Bud truck, the beer.
Bud beer.
And they had actually done one of their first deliveries, I believe, it was this year, using a fully automated truck.
Wow. Someone was in the car though, or like in the truck though, or was just no one in it?
I'm not 100% sure whether somebody was in it or not, but definitely, the entire process was automated.
See, that kind of freaks me out because like if you have an accident with the truck, how the hell are you supposed to communicate? Or these are my details.
Beep.
Beep. Yes.
We'll go through insurance. Beep.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's a yes. Beep. Oh gee. But yeah, it'd be a weird scenario.
Who takes fault at that point as well?
Yeah.
Because once again, the car maker would assume that their vehicles aren't making any mistakes. And if you're the person driving,
there's no precedent for it. So until people start having accidents with self-driving cars, then we can figure out who's at fault.
Well, there's only one way to like test this, and like it'd be by putting like a whole bunch of self-driving cars in like a city, and like having no one else drive, and just let them go for like a week.
I feel like if the self-driving cars are all in sync and they're all flowing, if you put a person in the middle of that, they're going to screw it up. Like it's not going to be the other way around. Do you know what I mean?
It will most likely be human error that possibly ends up leading towards an accident. But you would hope that with, I guess, the self-driving cars, their programming is sufficient to avoid that.
But having said that, would you trust sitting behind a wheel of one of those?
I feel we're going to be the stubborn old men that are still driving,
Well, driving is like it's a
like for you guys are enthusiasts, so you're always going to be wanting to get behind the wheel. But it's like for me, I can't wait for self-driving. I can just kick back, play Nintendo, get to where I'm going.
It's very interesting where, for example, you get on a plane or you get on a train. You've got no access to the driver.
That is true.
They could, this doesn't lead into any kind of terroristic kind of thing, but they could, if they wanted to, take that vehicle at a very high speed, derail it or crash it somewhere. There's a certain level of trust that you put into a human being.
But there's a certain level of trust that you go in with anywhere. Like, for example, Uber, taxi, Lyft, whatever it is.
With those, there's the justification of you can come and grab the wheel, allegedly, if you're sitting short. For example, the bus as well. But in a situation where you can't get to the cockpit, or to the control center of the vehicle, you're putting that level of trust in a human being. I feel people will slowly come to be able to do that to a machine as well.
But see, planes have had autopilot for years.
Yeah.
So
and we're fine with that. But once again, we have the understanding that there's a human that's sitting in the seat.
Yeah.
That if something goes wrong, he'll quickly...
I'm assuming...
she'll quickly, if it's a she, anyway, they'll quickly assume control and move or make things safe again.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd step into a plane that had no pilot at all.
That's the thing. I think like for a long, like for maybe 10, 20, 30 years, there's still going to be that mistrust. But at some point,
it's going to just
like
go away.
it's just going to be a point where it's like there's no self-driving car is ever going to have an accident, and no computer is ever going to have a glitch. Yeah. Well, I mean, not ever, but like that margin's going to be so small. But for the next 20 years, there's always going to be a person somewhere in the mix, probably, even if it's just there to sit there and take control in the case of
I feel a good way
emergency.
To ease into it is because we're using self-driving cars. At least currently, where you've still got full controls, you've still got steering wheel and pedals.
Yeah.
You just let the passenger sit in the driver's position in case anything goes wrong, even if it's a taxi service. The car's been sent by another company, you still sit in the driver's seat just in case. And you can slowly ease people into it to the point where there are no controls on the car except for a big red button that says emergency.
Yeah, I mean that's the next step. But at the end of the day, things malfunction all the time. So are we still going to trust machines? I mean, okay, I hate to use this analogy, but have you ever seen the movie WALL-E?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, are we going to be that in a chair and not going to be able to control anything? Can't even get out of a chair because we are that.
I think it's a possibility.
It's a scary possibility, and like it's the fact that like everything is getting automated. And look, don't get me wrong, I love technology. I reckon it's freaking awesome. But
I think, I mean, we're
getting closer and closer to being placed in a simulation, gentlemen.
We are, yeah.
For my mind, it's like the more that's automated, the more time we have to do whatever the hell we want. So will that mean everyone's just going to sit in a chair, or will people start doing things that they otherwise wouldn't have time for, like painting, bike riding, hang gliding,
complaining on the internet.
Complaining on the internet. Now, maybe most likely everyone will just sit around and do nothing if everything's done for them.
But dude, you see your job's taken over by a screen. At your place of work. I mean, it's the same principle.
But
people are going to lose work.
Here's like people come complain about that. I'm like,
cabbies are going to lose work.
Yeah, I'm like, I think it wouldn't be a problem if we were forward thinking. So if governments, instead of just complaining about robots taking people's jobs and then not doing anything about it, they should be thinking about bringing new industries that people need to be involved in. They should be thinking about cottage industries that people need to be involved in. They should be thinking about arts and sciences that people need to be involved in, or they should be thinking about alternate revenue streams like and universal income, which governments they don't want to think about that stuff. All they do is blame the other party or blame poor people or whatever. So for me personally, I don't get any enjoyment out of my job. It's not intellectually or physically stimulating. So for me, I work in retail. I think all retail jobs should be done by robots. But then, of course, you get the problem of then people will be out of work. But then, like I said, we should be thinking about universal income or, pushing those people into industries that can't be done by robots. Yeah. So I'd rather be doing a job that can't be done by a robot. If I go into work and I see a robot doing my job, that makes me feel like crap because I'm like, well, what's the point of me coming to work?
Well,
I'd rather be doing something that I need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
Or something that I want to be doing.
See, I think the answer is kind of going on from what you're saying, James. Is by training us to be able to deal with these machines,
exactly.
to be able to have one person that mans those machines, and allows us to work in unison with them.
Like now, we should be teaching kids like coding and stuff like that, so that when kids growing up, when we were growing up, we would get a retail job. Kids growing up now should probably be thinking about getting like IT jobs or something. You know what I mean? So we should be retraining people or training people for the future and not just saying, oh, get a job in retail, even though it's going to go away at some point.
I get that, James. I completely get that. But like in terms of cars.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're ready to be to be fully into
like I said, it'll take like at least 20 years probably
minimum more
probably longer. Probably longer. And then of course we get into the problem of like driving for leisure. Like you guys are enthusiasts, you'd want to drive on the road even if there was self-driving cars. So then it becomes like, well, if there's a bunch of guys driving without autopilot, and then there's a bunch of people driving with autopilot, that's going to cause a problem. And then it's like, well, at some point, is it going to become illegal for you to take a control of your car in a non-emergency situation?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, at that point in the future, like, then we should be probably thinking about like dedicated tracks for people to drive, and for it to become more of a niche thing.
Maybe like a hobby.
Yeah, like a hobby thing. It's like there's a whole like a dedicated place where you go to do driving, which, I mean,
I feel that's pretty plausible and
that's far
acceptable,
off, but...
because when you consider horse and carts and just general horse travel, that was the way everyone did things. And then Henry Ford comes in with the magical automobile, even though it probably was somebody else.
It was. I think it was actually Daimler or Mercedes.
But he definitely sold the most.
He pretty much mass produced the car. Yeah. Henry Ford. We should actually have an episode on Henry Ford.
That's a good idea.
He was an incredible man. He did some
anti-Semitic.
Did some strange things. He had his own magazine or newspaper that he read.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of what he did, he's an incredible person.
Yeah, we should do that
next week. We'll do a Henry Ford special.
That'll be good.
But yeah, because there's a lot. I actually watched a doco on him recently. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
And as we saw, in came the motor car.
Yeah.
And horse carriages, obviously, and just general horse travel started decreasing more and more, and to the point where these days, if anyone's on a horse, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's very much a hobby thing. And the fact that even though this happened a very long time ago, people have still upheld that hobby. I feel it's definitely...
The Amish.
Well, that's more of a way of life, but just...
I think also, like, now, I think I've talked about it before, but now with, like, 3D printing and stuff, like, I'm hoping that along with driving... point to like on the roads, if that does go away and driving becomes more of a like small niche hobby thing, it's like with 3D printing and cheaper material and stuff like that, it's like you could build your own car in your garage using a 3D printout.
But there's a gentleman already doing that in New Zealand.
Exactly.
Really?
And he's building it's Aston Martin DB.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. It's one of the
me?
very early Aston Martins, and primarily his thing is, I can't afford that kind of a car, so I will build my own car.
Plastic.
So I believe he's using that as the molding, and then he's
you can do sheet metal
and fiberglass and other products. And because once again it's New Zealand, it's a great country. I'm a dual citizen.
Choice.
It's also going to be, I believe, just road legal. He'll easily be able to get it.
That's impressive.
Yeah. See, so like then you have people who have build their own cars for cheaper. And then you could also have almost like a Hot Wheels collection, but of actual real life-size drivable cars.
Yeah, that's going to take a while to get to. I mean,
I'm talking about far down the line
in the future. But in terms of back on what you were saying about the horse and cart, there was always a person there. There's always going to be a person there. So regardless of whatever's going to happen, we're still going to be very much in touch with cars. I think so anyway.
Yeah.
So I think people are still going to enjoy it. I mean, like you and I, we said, I want to go for a drive today. I want to hop in my car and go for a burn up a mountain pass and come back. It's going to be in the future, like say 30, 40 years. Oh, let's go for a drive. Car, take me to Warrnambool, and you just sit back and watch the trees go by as you're doing 100 kilometers per hour down the highway. Now, the notion of a car is still going to be not only for a necessity to get things and get places, but I think it's going to be more or less like a favorite pastime, because you'd be just like, I want to go for a drive, I'm just going to sit there and do nothing and just watch the world go past me. The fact that the matter is, horses took us places, cars took us places, autonomous driving is going to take us places. We're still going to be involved with the car, and I think it's just kind of it's just going to be a weird thing for us, especially to get used to. Us three in this room, we're going to be like, "Well, this is just really freaky." But
even kids growing up, then probably that's going to be normal for them. You don't touch the car. People who touch the car, control the car, are weirdos.
Yeah, who the hell does that?
You're old man.
And I feel once again, we say people lose their jobs and whatnot, but there are also other industries that will spring up.
Yeah.
The entire ride-sharing system today, I think, will look very different, where very few people, even in the suburbs, will own cars because you can get a car on demand that'll come to you.
And pick you up.
Yeah, and pick you up.
That'd be cool.
I think...
There's just a robot car doing laps, and you just click it, and then it comes to you.
Dude, that could be the future of taxis, man. Honestly, like, if a taxi owner is like, was supposed to say, okay, well, we can have like an automatic taxi come get you.
Yeah.
You know, like
there's always one just driving around.
Yeah, there's always mathematics you can do to see how often people need a ride and how often they don't, how many cars you need in a certain area to be able to fulfill those, so that nobody's really waiting for a ride.
Yeah.
And just, you are taking car ownership out of a lot of people, but once again, I think it'll just be people doing that out of choice.
It also changed the car parking industry, because now, car parks are predatory, can you call it that? Like, just, you pay $1 billion to park your car for 2 hours.
Ever picked anyone up at Melbourne Airport?
Now it's
don't get me started.
If those car parks were converted into like depots for self-driving cars, and then you open the app and say I need a ride, and that car just comes out, picks you up, drops you off, and then goes and stops at another depot wherever close to where you got dropped off. So you never actually have to park anymore. It's always just constantly moving.
And there's so much room for different kinds of improvements where, for example, if you're willing to go for a cheaper ride, just make a few stops on the way, and the car will actually pick up a couple more people that are going in the same direction as you.
We should get into business and do
this. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
And it saves the environment, saves people costs of just owning a car. Time and money. But I still feel I'll always own a car.
But like Matt and Alan will always be like, switch off autopilot and doing doughies and
it's Mexico, of course.
We're like Will Smith in iRobot. Push the car aside. No, I'm driving.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. As a high school teacher, seeing kids, of the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, but back in our day, Alan and James, all of the boys and all of the girls wanted to get their license. It was like a rite of passage in year 12.
It really was.
Now these kids don't even want a license anymore. Like they're like, we don't have to. And I'm like, I was at school. I was teaching today, and four girls came back to visit their teachers. They finished like 3 years ago. Only one of those girls had their license. The other three are like, I don't really need it.
A lot of our friends still don't.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's a dying thing. Like, people are realizing that they don't need cars, and it's Okay.
And I mean, also like in places like New York and in Europe, like the transport system's so good that you don't really need it. Whereas here, our transport's still not great. So
it's better than it used to be, at least.
Yeah, if in the future the transport system gets better, the trains and trams and stuff, then again that'll change the whole scene, and people, even less people will drive.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting topic. We could go on about this for a long time, but
should do a follow up.
We should actually. We definitely should. We're gonna get to a break. We're gonna go to a song by Pinal. It's one of their first album. The song's called "Embrace," featuring Lady Hawk. This is probably one of my. Actually, this probably is my favorite song from Pinal. We'll be right back after this. You're back on CarTorque with Matty J. Still 98.9 Northwest FM. Now, driverless cars again. We'll finish this because we should actually just dedicate a full episode to this. Because it's just so much to talk about.
It's a topic that can be talked on for hours.
I always tell people we should be aiming for the Jetsons, where we all live in the sky. We work 3 days a week, and there's hover cars and there's robots that do all our cleaning. And
can you imagine the complaining on the internet? Can't give too much time to the people.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
definitely not. But look, we'll move on. Because our other topic of the night was, what are the police going to drive now? The final Commodores and Falcons are getting phased out because they're hitting their mark. So actually, a bit of consumer advice: if you want a cheap XR6 Turbo that's done it's like a couple of years old and has done okay, or done about 100,000 Ks, but it's like full service history, you can pick up. No word of a lie, FGX XR6 Turbo with Brembos at the front, full, pretty much with the works, less than 20 grand, like 18 grand.
Wouldn't the value go up?
And
why is it going?
Because they're going auctions. Just they get rid of them.
They're trying to get rid of them.
Yeah. Something like SS Commodore.
Like a year from now, it'll go up, right? Like massive.
I'd say about 5 years
maybe.
Plus.
Yeah.
Then people will once again be dealing with the cars that they have to deal with. We're going to get the Taurus.
Yeah.
The Taurus and what are we getting from?
Apparently we're getting the Taurus, but we're getting the new Commodore is basically an Opel Insignia.
Ah, yes.
So it's
Yeah. So once people deal with those for a little while, they
get sick of those.
Yeah. Some people will definitely try and come back, and just the general appeal that these were the last ones made.
Yep.
You know that you won't lose money on them in the grand scheme of things if you buy them now.
Yeah. No, if you've got to buy them at the bottom of their range, and just, as I said, a piece of consumer advice: if you want a quick way into a what's going to be kind of a cult classic, get one now because they're all getting phased out. But in terms of what we think are going to be the next cop cars, I've got a few picks.
Stinger GT.
Stinger GT.
The one complaint I have about that is it's not as large as obviously the Falcons and Commodores.
It's actually quite decent. I was right next to one yesterday. They're quite long.
But is it like width-wise? What are we talking?
Lengthwise. Widthwise, they look a bit thinner. But I could be wrong. I have to double check the specs.
One of the big uses, or not the biggest use, but definitely a big use of the police cars and the four doors and the large spaces, throwing someone in the back.
Yes,
and
this is why the cars on my list and the cars on what I wanted to ask you have to have four doors. So
you can't have them driving Hyundai Velociraptor.
I don't think that's going to work too well.
You open the door on the one side, Jack.
Ah, crap!
You can only take one person at a time with those, or you can just sit the Pope in like shotgun, and you only got one cop driving the car.
Time to the roof rack.
Chuck them on the tow bar, drive away. No, we don't recommend that here on CarTorque. But yeah, Kia Stinger GT was one on my list.
It'd be good for pursuits, I believe. Definitely.
And if they brought the Hyundai Genesis with the 5-litre V8 like they've got in the other markets, that'd be another one that's pretty good because that's a long wheelbase. But my pick was something that you own, Alan, a WRX. Because you get four doors. They've used them as cop cars before.
They have, and the newer models especially are relatively large.
They are quite big.
They're roomy enough to seat people comfortably in. And even though you don't want the Pope to be too comfortable, you definitely don't want what is it, misuse of force on your hands. The Pope bumping his head on the roof and whatnot.
Come on. But
what are they going to use for paddy wagons though?
Paddy wagons, they can
the Lavorg.
The Lavorg, yeah, but that's
the Forester.
The Forester, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Who else makes a ute? Like they can have like a canopy put on. Like no one, unless they put them in like those
Navaras. They throw them
in the back of a Nav or a Hilux.
It's got the ARB kit on the back.
it's made by ARB. Oh, it's so bad.
I would laugh if ARB made like a prison kit, like a police kit for those utes.
Valeside prison.
Oh, that'd be so good. Another one I was going to think about would be the 300 SRT.
Yes.
Because that's pretty much a Commodore or a Falcon with a lot of power.
You can even throw someone in the boot in that.
Yeah. I mean, it is a gangster car, so you can go up to them.
Plenty of room for evidence.
How many bodies do you reckon?
Or depends on how you fold them. We don't condone any of that. But
yes, we do.
But definitely for evidence, big boots, always come in handy, especially if a packet's going to go missing. Not that I'm accusing anyone of anything.
But see, I've heard talks of because basically the Falcon and the Commodore were a full-size sedan. E-Class Mercs, 5 Series BMWs, they've all been, I know 5 Series BMWs have been trialled, but in terms of where they're going to go next, because it's kind of a bit of a question mark on because we've had Commodores and Falcons for so long. Talk about the Camry V6 coming back. That's going to take that role. But you need a performance variant, and I think the SRT would be good. Kia Stinger would be good. Don't think a Mustang would be good because it's 2 doors and kind of pointless. But
Mustang would be a good press car though.
Good press car, but it wouldn't be a good cop car.
Unless they have like the interceptors that are for chasing people that are like
high patrol prop ones. Yeah.
And then you've got the actual proper police car.
I mean, what are we talking about, though? I mean, Dubai's got, like, Lamborghinis and Bugattis chasing guys that are going 3Ks over the speed limit.
We don't have the oil money to do that, unfortunately.
Yes, we do. Come on.
We should start selling our uranium. And then we have uranium money.
What they say in the movie Borat, largest makers of potassium.
Exporter.
We should just start selling it over their house.
What is it? Is it the Challenger that's photo?
Challenge? No, yes, no, Challenger, yes. Challenger's four-door. No. Charger.
I always confuse which one's which. Challenger and Charger. Why you gotta have such similar names?
Charger's four-door. If they bring that here, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be great for consumers as well.
Hellcat, come on, like or Demon.
Demon with 900 horsepower
and one seat. You'd be catching your purpose pretty bloody quickly. In terms of what they're using already, territories they're pretty much going to get phased out as well. So they are. So
the Everest doesn't seem like it'll do the job as nicely because it's based off the Ranger frame, isn't it?
It is. It's pretty much a Ranger. Yeah.
They've go back to the whole ARB kit with the cop kit in the back and just throw the person. But you have to put a little step ladder as well to get
him high in.
Yeah.
But having said that, Ford this week have announced the new replacement for the Territory. It was supposed to be called the Edge, but Toyota kind of trademarked the Edge name in Australia, so they've called it the Endura.
Okay.
Which is basically like a similar size to a Territory, but I don't think they're going to be offering a 7-seater version, so it's just going to be another pointless SUV.
It's not pointless. When you're going through rough terrain to take your kids to school.
Oh yeah, they soccer practice.
Soccer practice in the desert.
Just don't get me started, James. Don't let me have another rant on SUVs.
SUVs is your Volkswagen. Yeah. I ran about Volkswagens. You ran about SUVs.
But we both read about Jurassic World.
Don't get me started.
It can't help but make you angry that people are buying very wide, large cars in tight suburbs with no space.
Oh man,
I think it's a great idea.
We've talked about it before. They think they own the road.
Well, I don't know what else we could think of that. That's
what about like my dad got the. I don't think I told you. My dad got the new Skoda sedan.
Actually, yeah, that'd be alright.
The twin turbo.
Superb, right? Was it called the Superb or was it the Octavia?
I think it's the Octavia sedan version.
Yeah.
Because he got the wagon. And now he's got the twin exhaust turbo, not twin turbo. He's going to get angry that I forgot. But maybe
it's an RS, yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, the sports version.
Yeah, they're pretty quick, man.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the same size as a Commodore.
Yeah.
Sort of.
If not a little bit smaller. But the new Commodore's going to be that size anyway, so...
Yeah. Has the police spoken out about what cars they are looking at? Because I remember somebody saying something at the police looking at Stingers.
Yeah, it was Stingers because of the four-door practicality, and obviously the performance that they carry is pretty much similar to a Falcon or a Commodore,
My biggest thing is looking at how much tuners can get out of a stock Stinger. Without too much kind of... Obviously, if you meddle with anything, you can get 1,000 horsepower, but you spent, 100 grand at that point.
Yeah.
It's just, what kind of... I guess just computer-based, maybe a few parts here and there, exhaust or something. What kind of tuning, power gains do you think?
I mean, I'm not too sure yet because it's still very new. I mean, the last car that I remember that they were properly doing this on was like BX turbos, and they found the limits of them pretty quickly. But then Ford obviously improved them. This is like Kia's first proper sports sedan. So no one really knows the limit of these.
I feel they're hiding at least 30 kilowatts.
I reckon you'd get I reckon they're underrated from factory because to be pulling quick times like 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 I should say for here. It's pretty impressive. They've got a lot more power than I think they're getting credit for. So I think they got dynoed and they had about the same kilowatts at the wheels as what they were claiming at the fly. So don't quote me on that. I have to find that video. I'll tell you guys in it. But it was really, really surprising that it's an underrated car from factory. So I reckon you can probably get 350 out of it, 350 kilowatts, possibly safely. I don't know. I don't know how strong the internals are. I don't know much about the tuning wise from.
But I'm very excited to see where they go from here.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is a big step up for Kia. This is Kia's legit first crack at a performance sedan. So yeah. It's a really exciting
They're making
car.
a name for themselves.
They are. They've come a long way, Kia.
Because when we were younger, Kia was a joke.
They were a joke. They were junk. Yeah.
It was like a Hyundai Excel is like what you think of when you think of a Kia.
Yeah,
Hyundai Excel was a rite of passage, all right?
It is.
You always have one friend, Andrew, shout out, that had that car and thought it was the best, just the bee's knees.
With that ugly decal. Remember that they came with the decal on the side?
And it had had the name Excel in it?
I think so, yeah.
My uncle had one.
Yeah, it's like, what were they thinking?
We're going to go to our last break tonight. We'll be right back after this. You're back on CarTorque with Matty J. We're about to wrap up the show, but topics from tonight were pretty much we're screwed in about 30 years. We're not going to be driving. And cops will be probably not looking at stingers.
This is also, you know, we're saying like, you know, it's going to be self-driving cars and stuff. It's like, this is if we don't go the Mad Max road and everyone's driving and using petrol, even though this doesn't make any sense. So, like, you know, we might be going the opposite way and everything's blown up and we're just driving around in gas-guzzling Fords and stuff.
Last of the V8s.
The
Interceptors. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got time for on the show. Now you've just got that stuck in the back of my head now, James.
Yeah.
Last of the Interceptors.
Gasoline.
So tune in next week, 7 p.m. We're going to be doing the Henry Ford special. So I think it's pretty much confirmed now. You guys will be back on for it?
Yeah.
Definitely will.
Sounds good. Shout out to my nana. I know you're listening. You're back in Melbourne, so hope you're getting well soon. Do love you very much. I can't play you the song because I have to download it. I know you wanted
next week.
You wanted The Power of Love by Jennifer Rush. That'll be next week. I'll make sure to put that on. But basically, stay tuned. We've got more shows coming up tonight. Listen to Dr. Ock's show on a Monday night and on a Thursday night with his mate Fitzy for the Thursday Waffle. James, give your show a quick plug.
Man vs. Movies every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Every 6 p.m. All the 6 p.m.s. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. 98.9 Northwest FM. Also, we're on podcast is on iTunes, Shout Engine, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yep, and ours is on Shout Engine as well. So jump onto there. The link's in our Facebook page. I've uploaded, but I haven't linked them in the last couple of weeks, so I'll fix that up tonight. Also, we're on iTunes as well. So if you listen to iTunes, prefer iTunes, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, so we can get higher up on the iTunes ranking, so we can get more noticed. We've got listeners all over the world now, which is really, really cool. So thanks to all our listeners. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. If you've got a question or want to come on the show, send me a message on our Facebook page. It's CarTorque, TORQE with Manny J. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But thanks, Alan.
It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, James.
Thank you very much.
And this has been CarTorque with Matty J. See you in the same time next week, 7 p.m. Take it easy.
This is professional radio, gentlemen.
And it's front-wheel drive.
Scotty, have you got anyone you want to thank?
Just myself.
And now we do the after hours. Dun, dun, dun.
Gentlemen, what would you go for?
Dacia Sandero.
Okay, and because it's not a supercar.
But it is.
It's not.
Automotive perfection comes in the form of two letters, A and U.
Long live my LTD!